Even though she comes from a fatherless home, dropped out of school, and is poor, she's still useful as a slave. At a dining table adorned with delicious-looking steak and lobster, Ryan said this with a laugh in front of my future parents-in-law. Being introduced in such an awful way, I immediately felt embarrassed. Throughout our cohabitation, I had my doubts about Ryan's behavior, but thinking we might become husband and wife, I tolerated quite a bit. Yet, to be spoken of so terribly when introduced to my future parents-in-law? Before I could worry about what the future parents-in-law thought, they suddenly burst into laughter. What's that, some kind of joke? Ryan, making a joke like that, huh? The future parents-in-law looked at Ryan with an easygoing demeanor. What? Ryan, unable to grasp the situation, looked at his parents with surprise. My name is Julia, and I'm turning 33 this year. I've had various jobs until now, but currently, I work part-time at a restaurant. I wanted to work full-time, but since my mom fell ill a year ago, I reduced my working hours to care for her. Caring for her after work every day drains a lot of my energy. But thinking about how Mom raised me, and now it's my turn to help, I find the strength to keep going. Mom suggests going to a care facility, but I want to spend as much time with her as possible. Knowing my feelings, Mom thanks me every day with a smile. Both my restaurant job and caring for Mom are my purposes in life. I'm always ready to take on tough tasks if it means being helpful to someone. Since I was young, Mom taught me, be useful to others. That way, it'll come back to you someday. The lesson had stuck with me. True to Mom's teachings, I've always worked hard at any job. As I focused on my career, I realized I was over 30 and should start thinking about marriage. I wasn't particularly keen on marrying, but recently, Mom seemed worried about my future after she's gone. To reassure Mom, I wanted to find a wonderful person and introduce him to her. Wanting to marry, the first thing that came to mind was a dating app. It seemed trendy, often featured in the news. Marrying someone from a dating app has become quite common. I was nervous about signing up, but it turned out to be quite fun. I was surprised by the sheer number of texts I received daily. However, many seemed to be just playing around, and Ryan was probably the first one I met who was seriously looking for a marriage partner. Ryan here. Nice to meet you. I first met Ryan at a cafe. It turned out we lived nearby, and he agreed to my date proposal. Ryan, with his handsome features, left a good first impression. He was a year older than me, friendly, and I instantly liked him. Turns out he's a lawyer. I wondered why someone as popular as Ryan hadn't married yet. I hope this isn't rude, but have you ever thought about marriage? I have, but I've always prioritized work. This time, though, I'm serious. I'm really looking for a marriage partner. I'd be happy if it's someone sincere like you. Ryan, effortlessly showing his interest in me, seemed skilled at complimenting women. We enjoyed conversations about his job and past romances. Ryan had been popular since his student days. Unlike me, who had limited dating experience, he shared amusing stories about being frequently asked out. By the way, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? I shared my complex with someone who might become my partner. I actually dropped out of school, I said. I've been working as much as I can, but right now, I'm part-time at a restaurant because of taking care of Mom. If you're okay with someone like me, I'd be happy to meet up again. I had never told a first date that I dropped out of school, but I thought Ryan would listen without laughing. Ryan listened intently and nodded seriously. Is that so? You must have had tough times. But now you're working admirably. There's nothing to worry about. Ryan's words nearly brought tears to my eyes. He acknowledged me, regardless of my status or education. Feeling genuinely relieved, I felt safe. After that day, we met several times. 3 months from our first encounter, I confessed my feelings to Ryan, and we started dating. It was my first time confessing to a man, and I was incredibly nervous. But Ryan seemed like my ideal man. It wasn't about his career as a lawyer. It was how he talked to me with sincerity, treating me as an equal that made me happy. I shared my feelings with Ryan, and when Ryan said, "I like you too, Julia," I felt the utmost happiness. Ryan even mentioned considering marriage with me, so we started dating with that in mind. The thought of a future with Ryan, not just as a boyfriend, but a fiancé, excited me. I finally understood why my friends always gushed about their boyfriends. The joy of being with someone you love is irreplaceable. But at that time, I didn't know. I didn't know that my relationship with Ryan would take an unexpected turn. "All right, take care of cleaning, laundry, and cooking. I'm busy from morning till night with work." When we started dating, we talked about moving in together quickly, considering our ages. We found a suitable apartment in the city, agreeing to split the rent. Honestly, I wished Ryan, who earned more, would pay a bit more, but I didn't feel right complaining given my situation. Then came the first day of our cohabitation. I was shocked by Ryan's words. "Cleaning, laundry, and cooking? Does that mean I have to do all the housework? I have to take care of Mom at night." "Of course, I'm an elite lawyer, and you're a part-time dropout. I'm busier and earn more, so it's only natural for you to handle the housework." Ryan was belittling me for my lack of education and part-time job, expecting me to do all the chores. His attitude in stark contrast to when he praised me as admirable during the confession confused me. What does this mean? Is this the real Ryan? Or is he joking? Many questions came to mind, but this didn't seem like a joke. Then Ryan must be serious. Could it be that Ryan's true nature is like this? Pretending to be solid and charming a woman, then showing his worst once he's got her? I've heard that some men change after starting a relationship, but Ryan was on another level. He pointed out my insecurities and dumped everything he found bothersome on me. "I'm off to work then. Take care of what I asked, okay?" Ryan left for work without listening to my side, plunging me from happiness to despair. Living with Ryan wasn't just about being burdened with chores. He often went out for meals after work, claiming it was for work relationships, and more often than not, his dining companions were women. I knew this because Ryan would tell me, "I'm going out with a woman for dinner today." It seemed like a brazen attitude from someone with nothing to hide, but he should consider my feelings. Even if Ryan claimed to like me, his attitude since moving in, treating me like a servant, made me doubt it. Once he went out for dinner. He often didn't come back until late at night. I usually got home in the evening, but I immediately headed to Mom's place every day. Thankfully, Mom's house was close, but juggling part-time work, all the house chores, and caregiving exhausted me daily. Sometimes Ryan would go out without a word, leaving the meals I prepared wasted. Moreover, when he came home drunk, he saw the meal I'd prepared and said, "What a waste of ingredients. Why did you even make this?" "I thought we were going to eat at home today." "What? Since we haven't been eating at home these days, you should have figured it out. Do I need to spell out everything? This is what you get with a low education level." Despite Ryan's lack of communication being the issue, his berating me for my lack of education made me angry. The reason Ryan had never married must be because he masked his true nature and deceived women. That's the kind of person Ryan is. I was the one who was fooled, but I refused to be subservient to Ryan. I wondered how I could get back at him. 2 months into our cohabitation, while cleaning Ryan's room, I stumbled upon his laptop screen, accidentally left open. WhatsApp was left open, and a particular message caught my eye. It seemed unread by Ryan, but with a multitude of notifications, I hesitantly opened it. This is... I was shocked by the content of the messages. As I opened more, I realized the kind of person Ryan was and felt terrified. I've stumbled upon something unbelievable. Alone in the room, I was trembling with shock and fear, so I took a photo of Ryan's laptop screen with my phone. It was the next day that Ryan invited me to my future parents-in-law's house. I wasn't in the mood after yesterday's discovery, but he had already informed his parents. Thinking it would be rude to cancel now, I decided to leave early. I was supposed to be Ryan's fiancé, but my feelings were complicated. I wondered how to convey my current feelings to Ryan and his parents as I headed to their house. Hello, Ryan has always been a great help. I greeted them immediately, but when I saw the faces of Ryan's parents, I was utterly shocked. I recognized those faces. Julia, could it be? Ryan's father, Eric, and mother, Megan, seemed eager to say something, but Ryan quickly complained of hunger, and we all headed to the table. Hey, what are you doing, Julia? You shouldn't be sitting. Get the meal ready. What? I was stunned, as were Eric and Megan. Eric and Megan were surprised. So was I. I didn't know what to do, being asked to prepare a meal in someone else's home. Of course, if I had known from the beginning, I would have prepared something. But being suddenly ordered by Ryan, I panicked. The meal is already ordered for delivery, so no worries, Eric kindly said, but Ryan laughed. No need for delivery. Julia should have prepared it. Eric and Megan looked astonished at Ryan's words. Eventually, the doorbell rang, and the delivery person brought delicious food. Eric and Megan set the delectable dishes on the table. Let's eat, they invited. Ryan started to introduce me to Eric and Megan. She's from a fatherless home, dropped out of school, and is poor, but useful as a slave. At a dining table adorned with delicious-looking steak and lobster, Ryan said this with a laugh in front of Eric and Megan. I felt embarrassed by such a terrible introduction. Throughout our cohabitation, I had my doubts about Ryan's behavior, but thinking we might become husband and wife, I tolerated quite a bit. Yet to be spoken so terribly when introduced to my future parents-in-law? Before I could worry about what Eric and Megan thought, they suddenly burst into laughter. What's that? Some kind of joke? Ryan making a joke like that, said Eric and Megan, looking at Ryan with an easygoing demeanor. What? Ryan, unable to grasp the situation, looked at Eric and Megan. I observed the three of them. Ryan, are you enjoying this? Seeing how we'd react to your comments. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You knew we've known Julia for a long time, and you're making weird jokes, right? What? Ryan seemed utterly clueless about what Eric and Megan were saying. Eric and Megan's expressions turned stern as they realized Ryan's derogatory words about me weren't jokes, but his true feelings. You mean Ryan, you didn't know? You said those things about Julia being a slave, thinking it was true? I always speak the truth, but what are you talking about? It was clear that these words were the last straw. Eric and Megan's expressions grew even more severe, glaring at Ryan. We owe a lot to Julia's mom in Mexico. What? Mexico? To Julia's mom? Ryan looked at me confused. I hadn't told Ryan much about my past, so his ignorance was understandable. I decided to explain everything about my connection with Eric and Megan. When I was a student, I went to Mexico. I wanted to broaden my horizons, try working abroad. Of course, Mom objected. She said I could do it after graduating, but knowing our family's poverty, I knew we couldn't afford further education. So against Mom's wishes, I went to Mexico. Ryan's eyes widened as I revealed my sudden school dropout and moved to Mexico. Mom eventually agreed and joined me. I studied and learned Spanish, but it was tough there. However, Mexico was more tolerant of educational background than America, and I managed to find a job, working in various roles. I gradually became conversational in Spanish. Mom too learned Spanish, and we lived comfortably.
Work in Mexico? No way someone with your education could.
But I did. I even co-founded an IT company with local friends, and it went well. By the time 10 years had passed since moving to Mexico, I had built a decent future, enough to buy a downtown house in cash. And that's when I met Eric and Megan, 3 years ago. Eric and Megan nodded deeply to my words.
Ryan might remember.
Eric and Megan lived in Mexico for a year due to work 3 years ago. Ryan stayed in America. At that time, they were struggling with Spanish, and we helped them. Yes, Mom and I used to host events for Americans in Mexico on weekends. That's where we met Eric and Megan. They were new to Mexico, and we started meeting frequently, helping them with Spanish and life in Mexico. Eric and Megan were grateful to learn about Mexico from Mom and me. We have fond memories of coffee and sightseeing with them. So meeting them here today was beyond my wildest dreams. They had mentioned having a son, but never went into detail. Such an incredible coincidence, but now I've accepted this reality.
Mom and Dad knew Julia?
I didn't think so, but it's true. That's why we knew from the start Julia was a good person. We couldn't believe Ryan speaking ill of her. Megan glared at Ryan with a furious tone. Ryan let out a gasp. A year ago, when Mom's health declined, I returned to America, but I still work remotely for the IT company. My colleagues trust me. At the restaurant, my ability to speak Spanish is valued. I may not have high education, but I've worked hard in everything I could do. Ryan's face turned pale. He was clearly shocked to learn that the person he had been belittling was actually successful.
Why didn't you tell me such an important thing, Julia? You're wealthy. In that case, let's get married after all. I won't make fun of you anymore.
Ryan now spoke in a brighter tone, apparently having changed his mind upon learning of my substantial wealth. But I wouldn't be fooled by Ryan's superficial words. What are you talking about? I no longer intend to marry you, Ryan. Do you realize how painful it was when you started living with me under false pretenses, then showed your true colors? Oh, and speaking of deception, Ryan, you've been scamming clients using your status as a lawyer, haven't you?
What? Scam? What are you talking about?
Ryan's demeanor changed drastically, becoming hostile when he realized I had no intention of marrying him. He seemed visibly shaken by the mention of fraud. I accidentally saw your laptop in your room yesterday. There were numerous complaints and messages addressed to you. I'm sorry for the snooping, but the words of the clients you charged with fraudulent fees were quite legitimate. I even have evidence. I presented the photo I had taken of Ryan's laptop screen, causing his face to contort while Eric and Megan's expressions grew even sterner. You call yourself elite, yet stoop to scamming people? You're the worst. Let me guess, you spent all your money on nightlife and got into debt? And as soon as you found out about my assets, you tried to take advantage of me. Truly despicable. Eric and Megan are such respectable people. It's a pity. Please consider my engagement with Ryan null and void. I glared at Ryan as I delivered these final words. Ryan muttered in despair.
It's a lie.
Eric and Megan seemed to agree with my decision.
Go to the police now.
Angrily telling Ryan.
I'm not going to the police. What are you saying? Do you think you can deceive important clients, hurt Julia, and still find happiness? Foolish. We no longer need a son like you, Ryan. Go to the police now.
Eric's shout echoed throughout the house. Stunned, Ryan eventually let out a cry and hurried out of the house. I'm so sorry about Ryan. How can we apologize? Eric and Megan looked down, apologetic. It's okay. I was deceived too. But meeting Ryan led me to you again, and for that, I am grateful.
Thank you.
Eric and Megan hugged me. We then reminisced about our time in Mexico, and they expressed concern for Mom's condition. They truly are wonderful people. I may have lost a fiancé, but in exchange, I found a precious connection, which was somewhat comforting. Ryan turned himself into the police as promised, and is currently being questioned. I suspect he might have been squandering money on women. He often declared he was going out for meals with them and would leave at night. Without money, Ryan scammed his clients for exorbitant fees to escape debt and even targeted my assets. Even if he's released from police custody, his reputation is ruined and he'll likely lose his job. Eric and Megan told me that Ryan always fought with friends and frequently got into trouble at school, even involving the police. How a person like Ryan came from them is a mystery, but now he's reaping what he sowed. They have no intention of letting Ryan return home. I believe Ryan shouldn't cause them more trouble. He's probably in despair now, but there's no room for sympathy. He should repay his debts on his own. Meanwhile, I continue to keep in touch with Eric and Megan. They'll soon visit Mom's house, eager to see her. Though I lost a fiancé, I'm glad to have formed such important bonds. Life with work and caregiving is tough, but I want to cherish those who care for me and keep moving forward positively.